Welcome to Life Codes. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our content with those you care about the most. Here we explore the ethical dilemmas we face in our daily lives. In our interconnected world, our actions often have far-reaching implications. As we navigate our personal and professional lives, we often encounter situations that challenge our values and principles. One such challenge that many of us face is the prevalence of questionable company policies in our workplaces. These policies, often driven by the pursuit of profit, can sometimes compromise well-being of individuals and communities. From unfair labor practices to environmental negligence, such policies can be found in companies large and small. Despite their widespread presence, these issues often go unaddressed, allowing harmful practices to persist and grow. But it's not all doom and gloom. Every day, individuals stand up against these policies, choosing integrity over complacency and compassion over today. We're diving into a topic that affects millions of people around the world: the impact of questionable company policies on individuals and society as a whole. In today's world, we often hear stories of billion-dollar corporations implementing policies that prioritize profits over people. Let's consider a few examples that have made headlines recently. First, consider a well-known tech giant. While their public stance is one of user privacy behind closed doors, it's a different story. Internal documents have shown that their policies were designed to exploit loopholes, collecting personal information for profit. In essence, they were monetizing privacy, a fundamental human right. Then there's the case of a major fast food chain. Their employees were pushed to work long hours, often without adequate breaks, leading to physical exhaustion and mental strain. Yet the company continued to push for maximum productivity, disregarding the well-being of their employees in the process. And let's not forget about the fashion industry. In the race to keep up with fast fashion trends, some big-name brands have been linked to dubious labor practices overseas, leading to exploitation and human rights abuses. Despite public outcry and demands for change, these practices persist. In all these examples, a common theme emerges: a disregard for the well-being of people, whether they're employees, customers, or individuals in the supply chain. These policies are not just unethical, they're harmful, leading to issues like privacy invasion, worker exploitation, and even human rights abuses. But what's equally concerning is the response, or lack thereof, from those within these organizations. Instead of speaking up and challenging these unethical practices, many employees turn a blind eye. They may fear losing their jobs, being ostracized, or they may simply rationalize their actions, thinking they're just a small cog in a large machine and can't make a difference. Yet, many employees remain silent, fearing repercussions or rationalizing their actions. But as we'll see in our next segment, it's not just about individual actions. It's about the collective impact we can have when we stand up against questionable company policies. Compartmentalization is a common tactic used by corporations to diffuse responsibility and shield employees from the ethical implications of their actions. This mechanism works subtly, almost invisibly, but its effects are profound and far-reaching. Picture this. You're an employee at a large corporation. Your task for the day is to write a piece of code for a new application. You've been given specific instructions and you do your job well. You're not privy to the bigger picture, nor are you encouraged to be. You're simply a cog in a larger machine, and all you need to do is keep turning. Now let's zoom out. That piece of code you wrote, it's part of a larger algorithm used to collect and sell user data. But you didn't know that, did you? That's because the company has compartmentalized its operations, keeping you in the dark about the full implications of your work. Experts explain that this tactic is not accidental. It's a deliberate strategy designed to prevent employees from seeing the whole picture, thus mitigating feelings of guilt or responsibility. You see, when we're only aware of a fraction of the process, we're less likely to question or challenge it. This is not to say that employees are blameless. We all have a responsibility to question and understand the ethics of our work. But it's important to recognize the powerful influence of corporate structures and policies. They can create an environment that discourages questioning and encourages compliance, even when it comes at the cost of ethical integrity. Moreover, corporations often use the language of necessity and inevitability to justify these practices. They argue that they must stay competitive, that they're simply adapting to the realities of the market. But let's remember, these are choices, not inevitabilities. And these choices have real, tangible impacts on people's lives. By dividing tasks and responsibilities into isolated compartments, individuals may not fully grasp the impact of their contributions to harmful policies. It's a complex, insidious process, but understanding it is the first step towards challenging and changing it. But here's the thing. When we allow questionable company policies to harm others, we're not just compromising our moral integrity, we're also jeopardizing our relationship with the higher power we believe in. And this isn't about religious dogma or spiritual affiliations. It's about the fundamental human values that guide our decisions and actions. It's about the moral compass that directs us to act justly and kindly, even when no one is watching. It's easy to dismiss questionable company policies as just business. It's easy to turn a blind eye and convince ourselves that we're just a small cog in the machine, that our actions or inactions don't really matter. But they do. They matter immensely. Each decision we make, each action we take contributes to the larger picture of our society. When we choose to ignore unethical practices or policies, we're not just letting down our colleagues, our customers, or our stakeholders. We're letting down ourselves. We're betraying our own values and principles. And that, friends, is a heavy burden to bear. What's even more alarming is the ripple effect our decisions can have. When we tolerate questionable policies, we're not only compromising our own integrity, but we're also influencing others to do the same. We're setting a precedent that it's okay to prioritize profits over people, that it's okay to compromise on ethics and integrity. But here's the good news. Just as our decisions can contribute to the problem, they can also be part of the solution. We have the power to stand up against unethical practices, to voice our concerns, to demand change. And in doing so, we're not just upholding our own moral integrity, we're also inspiring others to do the same. So let's make a conscious decision today to be part of the solution. Let's choose to uphold our moral integrity, even when it's challenging, even when it's uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what's easy, it's about what's right. Whether it's through religious teachings or personal values, we're called to stand up for justice and compassion, even in the face of adversity. Thankfully, there are inspiring examples of individuals who have courageously spoken out against unethical practices and policies. They've shown us that change is possible when we have the courage to take a stand. One such example is a former employee of a multinational tech company who, after discovering their employer's misuse of user data, made the brave decision to blow the whistle. Despite the risks to their personal and professional life, they stood firm in their conviction that people's privacy should not be compromised for the company's gain. Another shining example is a group of workers in a large manufacturing industry who, upon learning of their company's harmful environmental practices, joined forces to protest. They rallied together, raising their voices to demand change, showing that unity can indeed bring about transformation. It's not just employees who can make a difference. Consumers too have a powerful role to play. Like the young environmental activist who led a successful campaign to get a major retailer to stop using single-use plastic bags. Her actions sparked a wider conversation about corporate responsibility and the impact of our choices on the environment. These individuals may come from different backgrounds and industries, but they share a common thread: the courage to stand up for what they believe is right. They've seen the harm that questionable company policies can cause and have chosen to do something about it, inspiring others to follow in their footsteps. Their stories serve as a powerful reminder that we each have a voice and the ability to affect change. They show us that standing up against unethical practices is not just about protecting ourselves, but also about safeguarding our communities, our environment, and our future. From whistleblowers exposing corporate wrongdoing to activists advocating for change, these individuals remind us of the power of standing up for what is right. Their courage and determination inspire us all to take a closer look at the companies we support and to hold them accountable for their actions. So, what can we do to combat questionable company policies and uphold our values? It's a question that requires us to be proactive and mindful. We can begin by educating ourselves. Knowledge is power, folks. Understand the ethical implications of our daily choices, the services we use, the products we buy. Next, we can demand transparency. Ask questions, seek clarity. Don't let corporations hide behind complex jargon or confusing policies. And remember, silence is complicity. Raise your voice. Stand up for what is right, even if it's uncomfortable or difficult. We also have the power to hold corporations accountable. If a company's practices are unethical, we can choose to take our business elsewhere. We can encourage others to do the same. And finally, we can advocate for ethical business practices. Let's create a culture that values people over profits, integrity over exploitation. By demanding transparency, accountability, and ethical business practices, we can create a world where corporations prioritize people over profits. Remember, it's not enough to simply proclaim our beliefs. We must live them out in our daily lives. As we've explored in this episode, standing up against questionable company policies is not just about holding corporations accountable. It's about maintaining our moral integrity, about ensuring that our actions align with our beliefs. It's about refusing to be part of systems that harm others and choosing instead to be agents of change. It's a challenging path, no doubt, but it's one that's worth treading. We must remember that each of us has the power to affect change. We can choose to be more than just passive consumers, more than just silent witnesses. We can choose to speak out, to act, to stand up for what is right. Together, we can make a difference and create a brighter future for all.